In the last year or so, AutoCrit has become my favorite program for writers who are doing long form fiction and need an editing tool to help them out. They have incredible technology. They did before, but now that they've incorporated AI, and not just in a like spammy, like, oh, hey, we've got AI, but in a much more consumer focused way that really looks at what the writers who are using AutoCrit actually want and need, and providing that for them. And since they've added a lot of those features, I can confidently say it's my favorite editing tool for authors, especially if you do any kind of long form writing. So in this video, what we're going to do is go through and I'm going to give you an introduction to AutoCrit. I'm going to assume you know nothing about it, how to get started on a project, and then just give you a little bit of a tour of what you can do inside of AutoCrit. So let's get in. First, I want to just cover pricing briefly. There is a free version of AutoCrit that you can get. It gives you some of the editing tools like adverbs, word choice, and readability, which can be useful, but these are honestly just a sample to kind of give you an idea of whether you want to use it. So to get the full package of AutoCrit and everything it can provide you, you'll need a paid account. There's really only one type of paid account, but there are 3 different ways to get it. And that's the AutoCrit Pro. All right. So there's AutoCrit Pro monthly, Pro annual, and despite the fact that they are not advertising it here on their website, there is a Pro lifetime account. And I will give you details on that in a second. But if you do it just monthly, it's going to cost you $30 a month, which is kind of a lot. So I don't really recommend doing this monthly because that will cost you. This is the most expensive way to go, but it will get you access to everything inside of AutoCrit. There's no higher tier that has more stuff, at least not as I'm recording this. There may be in the future, I don't know. But for now, you get everything with this Pro monthly account. Now, if you want to save 50% of that, you can pay annually, so you're paying for an entire year upfront. And if you do it that way, it comes down to $15 per month, which as far as the annual bill would be about $180 for a full year. Now there is a lifetime option, and the only way that I know how to get that lifetime option, they sometimes make it available on Black Friday. But the only way that I know of to get it is, besides Black Friday, is to get it through a link from an influencer like myself. So I do have an affiliate link down below. This video is not sponsored by AutoCrit. All of my opinions are my own, but I do get a little bit of an affiliate kickback if you sign up through my lifetime account option down below. And that will get you this program, a lifetime account for $400. And I will get into why I think that's actually a steal, and I don't know how they're able to afford that price because well, I'll get into it. But that you'll pay that off in essentially a couple of years, assuming like if you were to get the annual option, you know, that's $180 a year. So in a little like 2.5 years or roughly, you will have paid for the annual instead of going with the lifetime, by going with the lifetime. So I recommend getting the lifetime. I don't like having subscriptions wherever I can avoid them because nobody, you know, taking your author career seriously means you're going to be spending a lot of money on a variety of different tools. It's just a part of the investment, right? It's an investment in yourself and in your progress and in your book. But wherever I can get a lifetime option, I will take it, assuming I know for sure I'm going to be using that tool, because doing so cuts down on the monthly bill that I will have to pay. There are a few tools that I recommend that you kind of can't get around that are monthly, and you're just going to have that. But if I can get a lifetime account, then I just don't have to worry about it anymore. And I can continue using that platform for essentially forever. So that's why I recommend the lifetime account. I did confirm that the Black Friday deal that you will be seeing and what you see at my lifetime deal in the link down below is essentially the same. So there are other influencers. I know Kindlepreneur has a link to the lifetime account. And I have my own. I don't know who else might have one. There aren't that many. So this is like one of the best ways to get that lifetime account. All right. So now that we've talked pricing, let's get that out of the way and actually get into the actual dashboard and what it looks like when you log in. So there's a couple of things you can do here. First of all, if you want to get started just with your, uploading your story and everything, you can do that just right here from the dashboard. But before we get into this, I want to show a few things here on the left-hand side. Let me just try and zoom in a bit here. So we have Writer's Deck, which is just pretty much the same as where we were a second ago on the main dashboard, where you can just upload your files or start a blank document or do a quick copy and paste of your story. But there's also here on the side, you've got community. So they actually have a pretty thriving forum, essentially, so that you can talk about various things, that you can ask for help, if you're stuck with something. All kinds of different things. There's groups for different genres. So there's one for romance writers, sci-fi writers, nonfiction, mystery, horror, etc. So this is a handy place to go if you're a more social type person, or if you want to find other people in the same genre as you to maybe do a little networking there, or if you just want some questions answered, you can go there. Next, we have the Academy. And this is for separate bonus courses that they offer. I recently bought one here on Romantasy, but they will do regular courses and classes that are extra. They're not free, which is one of the reasons why I think they're able to afford some of the stuff that I'm going to show you later, because I don't know how they do it. But it's probably some of it is coming from these courses that they offer as bonuses. But these are actually excellent. They get really genuinely knowledgeable people for each of their courses. I can't speak for all of them, of course, but the ones that I've experienced so far have been really excellent and great ways to learn and expand as an author. I would almost say that you could essentially confine all of the learning that you want to do as an author to just what they have here, and you would probably be fine. They do have an option somewhere to buy a season pass, essentially, or an annual pass that will get you all of the courses that are coming up that year. And that can be handy if you plan on attending a lot of classes, or watching those courses, because it's a significant discount if you do it that way. Or if you just if there's just one thing that you're interested in, you can just buy that one thing. But I've gone through several of these, and they're quite excellent. And lastly, they have author services here. And if for some reason I'm not seeing any of the services here that I've seen in the past, maybe that's just a bug on my end, or maybe they're just not offering that right now. But I have seen things like doing edits of your first page and stuff like that, getting an actual human to give you advice on certain things. I'm not seeing that right now, but maybe that'll be different in the future. So let's go back to our main dashboard. And before we actually go through and upload a document and show you everything that you can do there, I want to show you this feature here really quick, which is on story ideas and planning. So if you're interested in this, you can go ahead and click on it, and you can say, do we have a new fiction story idea or a new nonfiction story idea? Because AutoCrit will do both fiction and nonfiction. It is geared primarily for any kind of long form book, essentially. It's not really a good editor for other types of writing that are not long form books, but it will do fiction and nonfiction books, right? So let's just go with fiction for now. And this is one of their AI features, but it's also something that you can just do yourself. So let's start by just saying story premise. I can add this in myself. If I wanted to, I could just go ahead and click this little button right here, and it would generate a random topic on anything that we can think of. It'll be completely random, but I don't want it to be so random. So I'm going to say, I want to write, well, hang on. This isn't a prompt. So instead I'd probably phrase it like epic fantasy story set on a barren world. Whoa, I can't spell. World that is tidally locked with another planet, almost like a moon, except the two planets are almost equal in size. The story is about a young man who is exiled from his home, one of the few safe places on the planet, and goes through a Count of Monte Cristo type storyline. I would probably spend a lot more time on this if I were taking it seriously, but we'll just start with that. Target genre. So I've already mentioned that this is an epic fantasy story. So it should, if I go ahead and select this, it'll give me the target genre. So yeah, epic fantasy, subgenres, revenge or redemption drama, science fantasy due to the unique planetary setting, adventure, or coming of age. I'm going to remove the science fantasy because it is much more of a fantasy, but other than that, it did a decent job. Target tropes. This is definitely something that we want to look at. Exiled hero, revenge quest, coming of age journey, double planet setting, lost safe haven. So it's pulling all of this just from that little story premise. And I could keep going and just start with like the general geography, right? So this one's probably it's gonna get a good sense of what it needs from that initial premise. And yes, it did. But then it went on to elaborate more things. And then I could just go in here and continue and expand on it further, get more detailed, etc., and then continue on with all of these other things. And if you just go through this systematically, you will end up with a pretty solid idea. And I actually think, even though AutoCrit is more of an editing tool, I think if you're in that initial brainstorming phase, this could be a really, really good place to start. I would almost recommend going through this process more than any other AI tool I know out there, just for that initial brainstorming, because it walks you through every moment of that you want to check out, including like key moments in your outline. You can create story beats. You can have like different characters here, like your main protagonist, your antagonist. All of that can all be generated here. And so if you're just in that brainstorming phase, I would strongly recommend starting with something like this. And just for those interested in nonfiction, the same process is here as well, but it's a little bit different because now we're talking about a topic rather than a general premise. We have things like the audience avatar and the author's background and your outline and different things like that. So it's the same idea, but obviously different for nonfiction. Okay. So that is the story builder option. So back to our dashboard. Let's actually bring a file into here and actually get started on it. So I have this book that I'm working on right now called The Spoils of Anwen. It's a kind of epic fantasy Arthurian thing in a series I have called The Rise of King Arthur. And so I've got it here in a Google Doc. I generally work in Google Docs a lot for what I do, especially given the automations and things that I run. So I'll just go here and I'll click download. We'll download it as a Microsoft Word file. So that has been downloaded. And all I have to do now is upload the file. I'll go ahead and drag and drop it into here. Now, one thing I recommend when you are uploading a file like this is if you go to like this original file I've set these chapters here as H2 headings. Up here it says heading 2. Right, let me zoom in a little bit so you can see that better. So heading 2 for each of the chapter headings. What this does, it makes it a little bit easier for a tool like AutoCrit, and not just AutoCrit, but other tools where you need to import a manuscript. It makes it relatively easy for them to be able to detect where the chapters are. So you can see here, it's figured out that chapter 1 is right here and it gave it the right heading. If we scroll down, here we have chapter 2, and it should, I'm not going to check everything right now, but I'm pretty confident that it will have all of the chapters properly labeled because I did that. Now, it will do its best if it's not labeled, like it'll search through things, but it might miss some stuff. So that's why personally, I think it's always a good idea to have your headings labeled as H2 headings. That's just the part of me that was an SEO expert before getting into all of this. That's just how I learned, and it keeps everything tidy. Okay. So we're not going to go into all of the different things that AutoCrit can do for you here, but I am going to go and just give you an idea. So you'll see up here at the top, there is a variety of different reports that you can look at. So if I click on dialogue, we have like dialogue tags, for example. If I click on this little thinker will pop up and it'll proceed to give you a report on dialogue tags. Generally speaking, you want your dialogue tags to mostly be said or asked, because anything else tends to distract the reader a little bit. Readers' eyes are accustomed to just seeing said and asked. Contrary to what some people will tell you, that you want some people will say you want something more interesting than said or asked, but that's actually not what a like professional writer or editor would tell you, because most things you have significantly more said and asked. All right, so here we go. We can see in my thing, I have 523 said and asked. In fantasy books of the same rough length, you'd be looking at 570. So we're close there. And then we do have others. We have a few more others than we'd like. We'd probably want to get this down a bit. What you can do now is we can go here and say, oh, there's a lot of muttered. So we probably want to bring down the number of muttereds that we see, because there's 76 of them, which is actually quite a lot. And you know, whispered, and some of these could be okay, but I would probably say, okay, we should go through and check some of these out. So Maddox reached out and touched the ship's railing. Watch over us, Arthur, he muttered. So instead of that, I would say he said almost to himself. You know, we don't really need to know that he muttered, right? And so that's just an example of one different type of report that it does. There are like dozens, basically. There's sentence variation, pacing, paragraph variation, chapter variation. There's adverbs, passive indicators, tense consistency, showing versus telling, cliches, redundancies, unnecessary filler words. These can all be great ways to do kind of essentially a line edit of your book. And now you do have to go in and manually change things yourself. There's no AI yet that will like make those changes for you, but they're very good at identifying things. And so that's essentially what AutoCrit was before AI came around, is they had all of these reports, and it was very good at kind of giving you a sense of what you needed to improve. There is here under analysis, this combination report where it'll essentially run all of the reports, and it will give you a sense of which ones do you need to work on the most. So you don't have to worry about doing everything here, because that's a lot of work and a lot of headache. You can just go here to the combination report, hit it, and see where you are weakest, and then maybe go work on that one. And you know, that's just a good way of prioritizing where your work goes. But last but not least, I want to talk about some of the AI analysis reports that you can do here, which I've done a video on this before, but I want to just kind of talk about it a little bit more. And to do that, you go over here to this icon that says Story Analyzer. So if I click on that, there's we have alpha and beta readers. And we have the Story Analyzer Plus, which is essentially a big developmental editor for your book. So if you click on that, for instance, I'm not going to go through all of these, but this one, you can do like a full analysis. I'm going to go ahead and hit start. This will take some time, but it'll actually go through and analyze the whole entire book and give me a decent sense of what needs to be fixed on a developmental level. But there are other things here under Story Analyzer that you can check out as well. The alpha and beta readers are interesting to get a sense of what your ideal reader might think of the book. So not just any random reader, like if you want to make sure your genre is on point, that you've got the right tropes and that you've got the right the right genre conventions and stuff like that. You want to make sure that you get an alpha reader or a beta reader, AI virtual one, of course, that understands that thing and can give you a quick read and see like, where are you messing up, right? And these are all programmed by people that have a very solid understanding of different genres and who are developmental editors themselves. I know AutoCrit has developmental editors working for them, doing a lot of this stuff and helping out in the back end. But one of the other things I'm super excited about is this tool here called Market Fuel. If we click on that, this will actually help you in the process of creating a blurb or marketing copy for your book. It'll actually analyze your book and create different things, everything from a blurb, so your front and back stuff, to keyword possibilities, which you can then plug into a tool like Publisher Rocket to see how good those are. It'll give you likely Amazon categories where it'll belong, as well as BISAC categories, which is all useful when you're publishing your book. Potential lead magnets, stuff that you could create to get people interested in joining your email list based on like if they've read this book and they want to know more, and you could do that. Potential hooks, like there's all kinds of stuff that you can generate here inside of the Market Fuel. This is all generated with AI. And like I said, AI usually costs a lot of money, but if you get the lifetime account that I've got linked down below, you won't have to pay a recurring subscription. This is why I don't understand how AutoCrit actually affords this. And my guess is they're probably going to bump up the price eventually. They already have in the past, but I wouldn't even be surprised if they stop doing the lifetime option, because that's really not sustainable very well for people using AI, because AI costs money every time you use it. And if you're not paying for it, then they are. So I think that's pretty pretty wild that they're able to do this. I've talked to them before. I'm just like, I do not know how you afford that, and they won't tell me their secrets. But I know that's sounding a little bit salesy for their stuff. Like I said, this is not sponsored by them, but I am hoping to do a number of videos in the future, kind of giving you an idea of how this all works. So hopefully we'll be able to do some of that very soon. And until then, hopefully this video has been useful for you, and I will see you in the next one.